All right, I'll go ahead and get us started here. My name is Daniel Burke. I'm here with the Division of Local Assistance at Caltrans. I'm a trading and audit supervisor. And today's Lunch and Learn topic is brought to you by the Sacramento American Public Works Association chapter in Sacramento here. Also, the Caltrans Division of Local Assistance and our DLA family, the California Local Technical Assistance Program Center, hosted at Cal State Long Beach. So today we're going to be talking about resident engineer and inspector daily reports and why they are important to fill out completely. And here to cover most of the conversation today on this topic is Gurmai. Go ahead, Gurmai.
Thank you, Daniel. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this training today. So I and Daniel will be covering this back and forth. So the topic of the day is resident engineer and inspectors daily reports. This is the overview of today's presentation. We'll cover the need, why is daily reports needed, what does a daily report include, and we'll have some example daily reports. Also, we'll have the construction oversight engineer review findings. And then at the end, we'll cover some takeaways and Q&A. So why is daily reporting needed? According to section 16.8 of the Caltrans Division of Local Assistance Procedures Manual, LAPM, the LPA, local public agency, must write daily reports to document the construction activities of a project. So it's required per the LAPA. For the LAPS to write daily reports per LAPM section 16.8. Why? You could ask the question further, why? So we need daily reporting for labor compliance purposes. As you know, contractors and subcontractors must be paying prevailing wages. So one way to verify is to check the hours worked by contractors personnel, which is documented in the daily report. So for labor compliance purposes, we need the daily reports. The other thing is for quality and safety and reporting. So the progress of the work in the field has to be documented daily using daily reports. So we use those information to make sure the quality and the safety of the project are happening in accordance with the plans and specifications and any guidance that the local agency may have. So we also use that information for reporting. So the inspector writes daily reports, the resident engineer and supervisor should be able to review the daily reports and understand what is occurring in the field on a daily basis. The other thing is, as you guys know, we need daily reports to develop our quantity sheets for progress payment purposes. As you know, the contractors should be paid every month. And the local agencies has to develop quantity sheets to make payments. Therefore, the quantities information should be included in the daily report. So personnel working in the construction office, in the field office, should be able to rely on the daily reports to get the quantity. So that's why daily reporting is important. The other thing is for potential claims and claims. Any claim or potential claim on a construction project, we need daily reports to defend our position, the local agency's position against the contractor or any other claim. So complete and adequate daily reports is important for you to protect or to defend your position. When you go to this arbitrations or other places, you're gonna need daily reports to defend your position. The other thing is control of work. The the construction activity has to occur in accordance with the contract, which is the plans and specifications. Therefore, to make sure that's happening, we need to document the work on a daily basis using the inspector's daily reporting. And the other reason for the need for a daily reporting is for force account change orders or a payment that has to be made based on a force account. You need to have a daily report because the daily report indicates the type of labor and equipment used, the hours they spend. Therefore, that's our evidence, our justification for making payments has to be reflected on the daily report. So section 16.8 of the Local Assistance Procedures Manual covers daily reports. The current update, the 2024 update, we have is broken down into two. Basically, the Assistant Engineer Daily Reports, also called Inspector's Diaries, which is Exhibit LAPM 16C1. This is the link to the exhibit is here. And then we have Exhibit 16C2, which is the Resident Engineer Daily Reports. Previous editions of the LAPM had only one sample for both inspectors and RE reports. That was causing some confusion. So to help avoid those confusion, the topic is now broken into two: Assistant RE daily reports and Resident Engineer daily reports. This is in line with the Caltrans construction manual as well. Now we have both forms attached in our manual, so the links are also included in this presentation. 16C1 is for inspectors daily report, and 16C2 is resident engineers daily report. So the assistant resident engineers daily report, sometimes also called inspector's report, must cover all this main information. The first one is the general information of the construction activity. The date is important, item number, item description, weather conditions should be included in the daily report. The other aspect is labor and equipment. The name of people working there, laborers, operators, and foreman, other people working on projects on the construction site should be included in the daily report. Their classification. It could be an operator, grader operator, could be a laborer, foreman, and hours worked for each people, and the list of equipment should be included in the daily report and the description of the work. And there is also in the form, it has a narrative section where the inspector or the assistant RE should describe the location and the description of activities, statements made by contractors, important statements, measurements. For example, if they are doing roadway excavation, the inspector has to include location information. From what location to what location did the roadway X took place? Approximate estimate of quantities. For example, we could mention for 1,000 feet long, 40 feet wide, 1 feet deep, just as an example in the diary. And then if there is any sampling and testing that was done. And again, time of sampling. For example, saying at this time, 10 p.m., asphalt sample was taken from this location. Where it was taken, if the results are back, then indicate whether what test results are included. If the test results are not back in the same day, indicate that in the diary. Sample was taken, but waiting for test results. So those information are important. In statements made by contractors, for example, a contractor may say, there is a different site condition in the field, so I cannot complete my work today, or other conversations has to be documented in the daily report, because that will be handy later on when we are either negotiating, or if there's any claims, or if there is any adjustments needed. So those important conversations should be documented. That's also how the inspector communicates with the resident engineer. The resident engineer can review those statements and then make decisions. So this is DLA Assistant Engineers Daily Report, LAPM Exhibit 16C1. As you can see here on this form, you can see here project number. This is project information here on the top left here. We need project information. What is the project number? Federal number, if there is any project name, if it has a name, contractor, the prime contractor's name here, or the contractor performing the work, or the subcontractor, whoever is doing the work, write the contractor's name here, the report number, date is important, and day of the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and shift hours, what time they start. Is it like 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. or if it's daytime, 7 a.m. to, stop, and then temperature, minimum, maximum. And this is the bid item number is information. It's very important. We need to know what bid item number. If it is roadway X, the contract, the special provisions have item numbers. For example, if it is item number 10, roadway excavation, say so here, indicate item number and the description. And then this is the names of the people working, their classification, the equipment they use here, any remarks here. If there is any idle equipment, please indicate here. And then this is the narrative section where the description of the work, location, quantity information can be added. And then again, is the inspector's name, signature, and title is important. So I want to highlight here, having item number and item description is important. The inspector may think people know, but when auditors come or reviewers come or other people review the project, they don't know the item number, item description. So if the inspector indicates the item number and description in the diary, it will save them time. They don't have to go back to the special provisions or the contract documents to search for information. So that way we have a complete daily report. So this is just a zoomed in version, the top portion of the daily report we just saw. So this is the project information here, the date and time, shift information, is location of work here, bid item number, description, and name, classification. So that information is really critical. So now that we have covered the inspector's daily report, now I want to cover the resident engineer's daily report. So as I said, we have two different forms. The first one is Exhibit 16C1, which was the inspector's report that we just covered. And the second one is Exhibit 16C2, which is the resident engineer's report. So the resident engineer's report is not as detailed as the inspector's report. This is the main information that goes into that report. So include discussions, agreements, major discussions and agreements with the contractor and others. If the resident engineer made any agreements, any change can be documented here. A general statement about the type of work, for example, include the controlling operation, what was happening, or excavation, or if the contractor did work on something else outside of the controlling operation, then that could be a conversation that could be documented. Statements or any other important facts pertaining to the contract should be documented on this form. So there's no detailed labor or equipment or classifications on this form, but it's just a general information about the construction activity. So this is the form, Exhibit 16C2. We have it in our LAPM, and the link we have included in this presentation as well. So as you can see here, this job stamp is the job information. This is mainly just a narrative that the resident engineer can use. By the way, this is our sample forms. Agencies can use their own similar forms, but we recommend these forms. Caltrans use them and they work. But there is similar forms that agencies can use. I know some agencies have their own forms, similar to this and a little bit, maybe minor differences, but this is a sample here for you to use. Now we're gonna cover some examples. Here, bear with me for a second. Okay, sure. So this is an example of daily reports. And as you can see here, this is not a good example, obviously. So maybe you guys can start thinking, what is missing? Maybe you can put in the chat what information is missing from this daily report. Maybe we'll give it a minute so you guys can take a look. This is, I'm gonna scroll down and up. This is an example of a day report, but not a good daily report. Well, let me see. So yeah, yes.
Yeah, we have somebody putting in locations.
Okay.
As missing.
Yeah.
Vague weather reports, workers' names. Everybody's doing really great here. I see a lot of information being placed in here. Measurements, tons placed.
Good. So yeah, so right here they have, okay, the shift is okay here. The job information here, maybe they could add more information here. And then also the description, continued paving operation, it says, continued from what location, what time. They could be more specific here. he could say maybe continued paving operation at this time. Over here, it says began metal beam guardrail operations, but it doesn't really tell me what time he began this operation, even if the shift hours are here, but it does not necessarily mean all these items are started at the same time, right? So a good diary would probably break those down further and indicate the exact time those activities. Also here, there's no item number here, there's no item description, and it just says, 4 workers here, and there's no names because labor compliance cannot use this form because there's no names and, defined hours for each employer, and obviously not enough descriptions here. So thank you guys for chiming in. I think, yeah, all your points are valid here. And so this is an example of a bad daily report. Let's share another example here. This is another example here. So we have more detailed information here. I like this daily report. You can see here, it has date, Wednesday. There's the contractor's name is here, Sand Canyon, Heaven Grade. Okay, this is the location, project location. And okay, contractors are here, listed here. Prime contractors, subcontractors, they have listed here, which is great. And then they have here item number, for example, clearing and grubbing, which is item number 8, and they have described it. So then here, additional striving is a change order. So this is good now. It separates between item number and change order. So when people in the office are preparing progress payments, they know how many hours are spent. For example, if you consider here, Steve Gray, he spent 4 hours on this item, clearing and grubbing, and then another 4 hours on sweeping maintenance. Or if you consider another person here, Paul, he spent 2 hours on change order 27, removing bulk trash stage 1B. So we know how many hours are spent on change orders. Without this information, you cannot really make accurate payments, and it could even lead to claims if it is not documented here. When it comes to time to pay, contractors are expecting more, and the office people or the resident engineer not having enough information could cause issues and or delayed payment or even potential claims and claims. So this is very detailed. We have now here even they have included the pickup truck here. Steve Gray, he has his pickup truck. He used it, for 8 hours. And then other equipments here, arrow board, hours used, and goes on. He even included a very weather condition here is very detailed information. He has some notes here on the narrative section. This is very important information. For example, just to highlight here, it says utility relocation, cruise on Sand Canyon, west of Canyon. So he described it. There is enough description here for the resident engineer. He can read this report and understand what's going on. Or the RE or supervisor in the office or office engineers in the office can go through these reports and understand and see what is occurring in the field. And yeah, detailed conversations here and pictures, very helpful. This is an example of complete report. So they have pictures here taken at different locations. And he has his signature, his title. And this is also an example of a tentative work agreement. When there's a change order, they sign, the inspector and the foreman sign a tentative work agreement to document the hours spent on a change order. So over here, see, contract is change order 26. This is the tentative work agreement. It has included here. You see the hours spent here, hours 2, 6. And, Raul Alvarez has spent 2 regular hours here, 2 regular hours for his equipment and then for the laborer. So then when we run our estimates on the change order, we can use this information. So no issues. And signed, good. So this is a daily extra diary. So this is also an example of a daily extra, for change orders. They have documented breakdown hours. And even he has included an employee interview. Inspectors supposed to interview contractors and subcontractors personnel. And he has then his interview here is attached to his diary. So it's a C.C. Myers, contractor's name, the employee name is here, his classification is here, he needs to have his name here. So yeah, this is it's a good diary, and he has his weather conditions very detailed from NOAA Weather Service. So I consider this a good example of a diary, because having a good diary is really important, because we have had several projects in construction where, we had claims and we review project files after years. One project, it was 2-year project. After it was completed, we had claims. It took 2 years to close out all the books and major claims. So we had to go back and review. We had like more than 10 inspectors on a job. So reviewing different diaries after a year or 2 years, you'll be surprised at how much information you have. How much you would appreciate if it is a complete diary. When you come back, review them after 2 years, and still you can see what was happening in the project. But whereas if a diary is incomplete, you'll be frustrated. And when you go to arbitrations, you will have a weak position. You cannot defend the agency's position. So that it is very important. I have experienced those when I was a resident engineer with Caltrans, that having a detailed, complete inspector's diary will help you in so many ways. Okay, let's see another example here. This is another example. Also, this is somewhat completed too. This is a good daily report. It has the description here. See, it has location information station. He mentioned here contractor A continued paving operation on northbound. See, it has location from station 32 plus 15 to 3516. So it's location description. And subcontractor X began metal beam guardrail. We saw the incomplete report, but this one is complete report. Now it has location and approximately 30 feet right of J line. So this is good information. And now you have item number here, item number 1, item number, 45, 78, CCO number 2. It will be even more complete if they have the item description. For example, item number 78, what item? If it is roadway X in bracket. That's what I would do. If it is asphalt paving, include that in bracket. And here they have, laborer Sanchez worked for 7 hours. Previously, if you remember, they had like 4 laborers for 28 hours. But no, we can. That's not acceptable report. This is acceptable. It has each laborer working for 7 hours on this item, and then 1 hour on this item, and the equipments are listed. This is the description of the work. It's a very good description. It's a thorough description here, and he has his signature. So this is somewhat a good report versus the one we saw the first time that wasn't complete. And let me show this also here. As you guys know, this is an example of a quantity calculation sheet. And you can see here, this is item 76, structural concrete bridge. And it has the file number here. See here, the placement date. The dates here has to be the same as what's shown on the daily report. So the office engineers or the resident engineer preparing the Q sheets could take the inspector's report and then use that information to develop their quantity sheets as shown in here. So without a complete daily report, there will be missing information, which can lead to delay in payments and in even potential claims. So that's why it is important to have a complete daily report with all the information included as shown in the examples. That is the conclusion of the examples we have. Now we can, I think, Daniel, we can open up for questions. So we still have more presentation to go, but this is halfway for you guys to give you an opportunity to ask questions on what we have covered so far. And then we'll continue with our presentation after after a few question and answer session.
Yeah, I see several really good questions here in the Q&A box. So, Germay, does Caltrans use a particular application or software to help prepare the daily report, or maybe perhaps can we recommend one, but not endorse it?
So yes, so Caltrans now is providing iPad to inspectors. So they are using iPad actually to write daily reports now, and that saves time because they can already download some of the information, the contractor's equipment and the project information already downloaded. So when they are going to write the daily reports, some of the information is already in there. So also the other advantage is, when you write a daily report the next day, especially if it is the same operation, let's say roadway excavation, you have some of the information, you're gonna change the date, location, and some information, but some of the information they can transfer from the previous day. So using the iPad, I think Caltrans I would highly recommend doing a similar thing. It would be, I think, a good investment to have because considering the time it saves to train the inspectors and then, to give them that software, I mean, technology, basically the iPad, and then install the programs there to help them save time. Also, the contract plans, specifications are downloaded in there so they can easily access information. And basically, it's almost everything in there the inspector needs is in here. Also, they can transfer information, share information with others faster than writing daily reports by manually. So I can maybe share more information from the Caltrans side. Maybe we can share it in an email and follow up. But yes, there is a technology that Caltrans uses that I would recommend for others to consider it.
Hey, thanks, Germay. Do you know perhaps if the application had a name, or I think that's what a couple of individuals are referring to. I see some information popping up in the chat. Is there a specific application name that Caltrans REs use, or
I don't know the application name on top of my head now, but we can follow up with the information.
perfect? So the second question, does the resident engineer have to use the LAPM Exhibit 16C2 every day, or is it every working day?
Yeah, so that is a good question. So as we said, the inspector's report has to be done daily. The resident engineer, in our manual LAPM, we have indicated daily or depending on the size of the project. On smaller projects, it can be done weekly even. But in the diary, he can break it down by daily and then still submit it on a weekly basis, complete it on a weekly basis, having breaking down every day. It doesn't have to be on a daily basis for the resident engineer if on a smaller level projects, but I would recommend daily. But sometimes we understand also there is staffing shortage, and some resident engineers also covering inspectors work and other activities. In that case, weekly could be accepted.
And again, just a reminder, please drop your questions into the Q&A box. It's easier for all of the hosts here today and presenters to just read through those and pull up the answers. So thank you for answering that last one, Gramai. Do we expect to see Q sheets or quantity sheets attached to each daily report?
Yeah, I have seen it both ways. Some inspectors, they go beyond and above and include Q sheets on a daily basis. But at least I would like to see the quantity information on a daily report. For example, if they paved 1,000 tons of asphalt and location from this location to the location, they paved on this day, they paved 1,000 tons. So the office people can easily create a Q sheet at the end of the month for progress payment purposes. But if some inspectors have done a Q sheet at the end of the shift, attach a Q sheet to the daily report, which makes it complete, will help save time for the people in the office.
Excellent. So I don't know if this is a question or just more of a comment, but perhaps it's leading into, can we perhaps expand the daily report to basically put in all enough room for the daily working bid items in the columns, and because I think this person may be a little bit frustrated because they have to go through several pages. Is there a way for us to do that, or is that something we should consider doing to expand the bid items to put in there for the columns?
So I think if that daily report is not enough to cover all the bid items, most likely there's more than one contractor working, multiple contractors. I would recommend having separate, in that case, having separate change daily reports for some of the contractors, the subcontractors. So if that daily report is not enough, you have more items to cover than what is shown on the report, on the form. Probably you need another daily report for the other subcontractors. Some even do that, they do different daily report for each subcontractor. That would be fine too.
Yeah, excellent. What what weather website does Caltrans prefer to be referenced, or do we have a preference for?
Caltrans uses NOAA weather
I,
service. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Excellent. So we also have a question here. Who needs to be included in a DFR for labor compliance? And this individual has written in, example, ready mix drivers and if haul trucks are working on the job. Could you perhaps explain what a DFR is as well? Gurmai?
So can you? So if they are delivering, concrete from outside of the job site, they don't need to be included in the daily report. They just indicate concrete was delivered at a certain time. Daily report covers for prevailing wage purposes in all the activities in the job site. So if it is hauling within the job site from one location to the other location, the job site will cover it. But if they are delivering concrete from outside, normally we don't cover those in the daily report.
All right. Thank you, Matt, for the clarification there. I see it's the daily field report. See, I work at Caltrans and we're supposed to love acronyms and I don't even know all of them. So shame on me.
Too many.
It's the truth. Uh, so are there examples of when the daily report can be completed weekly? And what would we consider a small project? Is that maybe by dollar value, small in scope, or maybe smaller by bid items?
No, the LAPM says the local agency should be completing daily reports on a daily basis, which is the inspector's daily reports. Only the resident engineer can complete weekly, but in accordance with the LAPM, local agency should be completing daily reports daily.
Yeah, perfect. And do we have, like a rough time frame of how much time or what we recommend as far as time should be spent on filling out the daily reports? We understand and respect that resident engineers are out in the field, and they have other duties just besides just documenting into the daily report. So do we have basically a time frame if they're out for 8 hours? About how much time it should take to complete a daily report?
So yeah, that's a good question. So this is the best thing to do is when the inspector is starting his shift, arrive at the job site, maybe half an hour or 15 minutes before work starts and communicate with the foreman, get the equipment list, names of people working. So he'll be ahead. So by the time they start work, he already have the list of equipments, the names of people working. He can start his diary. And then as the day goes on, he can continue his daily report and then complete it by the time the contractor completes work. So it is not a good idea to wait until the end of the shift to start working on your daily reports. In fact, you should start early on before and then start having a conversation with the foreman, what activity he's working, what location he's going to be spending, and what equipment he has. So the inspector will be ahead. So that way, as the day goes on, the diary also has to follow and then, keep on working on the diary. And I don't think it should take that much time if you follow that route.
Okay, I think I have time for about two more questions here before we have to move on. So let's get through those. So should the length by width, by depth, or area be shown on the quantity sheet or the daily report? If not, how will the area be recalculated by the checker?
So yeah, that's a good question. So on a daily report, the inspector should indicate, the quantity, the dimensions. If, for example, if it is roadway excavation, he could indicate either by station. Some projects have station, and some small projects, if they don't have station information, he measures it, lengths, widths, depths, and then he can put that in his daily report. But when we do the quantity sheets, it depends how the item is paid. If the item is paid by cubic yard or by volume, then that volume, the volume, that number will be indicated on the Q sheet, not the dimensions. If the item is paid by tonnage, for example, asphalt, indicate the tonnage in the Q sheet for every day and then summarize it for the months. And that's how, not necessarily the dimensions on the Q sheet. The daily report should indicate dimensions so that the office engineers will have information to develop their Q sheets.
Excellent, and it follows a nice process there. So, one of the attendees actually put in what the application is called for the daily reports that you might have on an iPad or other tablet. It's called Orange Vest, and it can do everything that's been mentioned thus far. So that's excellent information to have. Uh, I would still hope we get an answer for what Caltrans uses. It might be Orange Vest, it might not. I don't go out into the field, so I don't know that answer. And
We will follow up to that question later on.
hey, thanks, Grimai. And the last one before we move on here, how does AB5 contract trucking affect our daily reports?
AB5. Can you, maybe the person who asked the question, can you maybe elaborate your question?
Yeah, we'll pick up on that question. If we don't, we'll pick it up and just develop a Q&A sheet
Okay,
or a
sounds
FAQ sheet. Yeah, if we can't get to all the questions, or if we might need to research a little further into that if we don't understand it.
okay, sounds good.
All right, Grimai, I'm gonna turn it back over to you, and if you want to walk us through the remainder of the presentation here, be
All right,
great.
sounds good. Thank you, Daniel. So let's move on here. So now we want to cover, the reviews and findings. Division of Local Assistance, under Office of Guidance and Oversight, we have a team, the Construction Oversight
Hey,
Program.
Grimai,
Yes.
could you please go to the presentation? We still see the PDF of the Q sheet.
Oh, sounds good. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. So the Caltrans Division of Local Assistance, we have the Office of Guidance and Oversight. Within the Office of Guidance and Oversight, we have the Construction Oversight Program. And the Construction Oversight Program, we have 7 construction oversight engineers who does review projects, local agency projects. And this is the reviews we do during the course of projects. Some projects we do review pre-construction before construction starts. Some we do mid-construction reviews. Is during the course of the project. Our oversight engineers will go and get together with local agency resident engineers and review projects. And then also we do post-construction review after construction is completed. Not necessarily every project gets reviewed 3 times because of lack of resources. We do random selection of projects, and some projects may be reviewed during mid-construction, some post-construction, some pre-construction. And we have a checklist that we use for our reviews. And we have a bunch of questions we ask to resident engineers and their office people. And some of the findings we encounter when we do our review is missing diaries. Some projects, they don't have diaries for some days, and some diaries, they have diaries, but incomplete diaries, either missing item numbers, missing description, and lack of location information, lack of quantity information, and missing signatures. So this is an issue that agencies could easily fix, because when we review our projects, we are not auditors. We are to help the agencies, to educate them and send out recommendations and areas to improve. But when auditors go, they look for information as well. So they look for information how payments are made. Especially they focus on that when a progress payment is made. They are looking for justification, which is the quantity sheet. and the quantity sheet has to transpire what's shown on the daily report. So they check those information. If it's missing, they could flag it and caution those payments. So this is some of the areas we are encountering when we do our reviews. For example, in 2023, we reviewed 161 projects, and this is some of the questions we ask. We ask, for example, are daily reports complete? We get 95% reply that says yes. But when you go review in detail, you're looking at incomplete diaries and missing information, and it is not really 95%, even if 95% of the projects may have diaries, but there's some information missing. Also, we are encountering resident engineers also not reviewing inspectors' daily reports, and also not, I think that one was like 65% said yes. So we encourage daily reports to be completed, and REs to review, the resident engineers to review them and educate the inspectors. Our oversight engineers can answer any questions. They are available to help educate and answer questions and go on, provide on-demand coaching as needed. So this is additional resources for inspectors and resident engineers. We have, as I mentioned, the Caltrans, the construction oversight team. We have a highly experienced team. I myself are part of the team. I'm the program manager, so we do provide coaching, training, and reviews. Also, we have the Resident Engineers Academy. We provide every year. And there is the open office hour on Caltrans construction standards. Now we had one a few weeks ago. We'll have one in March. And then there is an open office hour on Buy America. Also, we have Buy America frequently asked questions on our website. And you can also visit the daily blog to subscribe, so you can get weekly notifications when there's training and open office hours. And let me share our website here to just direct you to some information here. Let me see. So this is the construction oversight program homepage. It shows here our roles and responsibilities. This is what we do. We do project reviews and conduct training, and we issue guidance. And this is the contact information. This is myself here, Gurmai, program manager, and then we have the construction oversight engineers assigned to different areas here. You can there's contact information here, names, so you can reach out to them. Inspectors and REs can reach out to them. Please share this information with inspectors, so if they have any questions, they can reach out to their area the construction oversight engineer assigned to their area. This is the review checklists that we use. There is the pre, mid, post, they are here. And we have frequently asked questions on Buy America here, office bulletins, blogs, and then other information here, the open office hours information here. And let's see, for example, share one of the forms. Let's see. Okay, can you see this my screen okay, Daniel?
I can.
Yeah, so this is one of the review checklists we use for mid-construction. So basically, this is how, when our oversight engineers go to the resident engineer's office, they use this checklist. Usually we send it in advance so the office can get ready and prepare, necessary information ahead of time. So the review usually it could take from 2 to 4 hours, depending on the size of information and depending on how readily information is available when we go to their offices. So for today, our topic was focused on daily reports. So this is the area we ask questions about daily reports here. Daily reports. So this is the section E basically. So this is how we do it. So this, let me go back now to the PowerPoint.
Yeah, there's lots of wonderful resources available on the local assistance webpage. Not only just limited to construction oversight, obviously today's topic, but there's other great information, including trainings and various
Oh,
tools
yeah.
for
Thank you,
local
Daniel. So
assistance.
now I'll pass on to Daniel. So Daniel can cover daily reports and audit findings. Daniel, take it away.
All right, thank you, Gurmai. So daily reports and audits. So occasionally we do have local public agencies who are audited. And one of the most frequent findings, in fact, it is the most frequent finding right now that we're seeing is a lack of supporting documentation, which includes the daily reports. And oftentimes it will result in question costs. The auditors want to verify that there is a what we call an audit trail, meaning that all of the construction costs are adequately documented via the daily reports, the quantity sheets, and weight tickets, etc., so that they can verify that the costs were incurred and were eligible for reimbursement to the local public agency or tribe. It's very difficult for us to verify and substantiate any question costs when an audit does come out. We're often recommended to receive reimbursed costs from the local public agency or the tribe. And what we'll do is we'll have the construction oversight engineer come out to the job site with you, and we'll look to verify that the items were actually installed and implemented as agreed upon in the engineer's estimate that was executed in the contract with the contractor. It's it's probably easy to determine, buried and non-visible items are extremely difficult for the construction oversight engineer to justify as being paid for. That's why it's so important to make sure that your daily report is complete and it does document that those items were implemented or installed on the project. And lastly, the Caltrans director must authorize any adjustment. So it does take a couple months for any approval that we have tentatively recommended to put in front of the director for their approval to reduce that question cost. And let me just preface all of this by stating, Caltrans isn't here. We're not here to pull in question costs from our local public agencies or tribes. That's not what we want to do. We provided these grants of funding to our local public agencies and tribes for them to implement and install on the project that's been programmed. So it's not in our interest. In addition, it takes a lot of administrative work, not only on my end, but the local public agencies end or the tribe's end and our district and other transportation stakeholders. So it's not a very effective or very valuable use of our time to go through and correct some of these audits and implement corrective actions and try and substantiate the question costs. So by completing and filling out the daily report correctly the first time and then putting in that Q sheet as well to reflect what was inside of the daily report and any adjustments that were made, that's really going to help everybody out and be as efficient as possible. Next slide, please, Gramai. We have here a very simple high-level flow chart for documenting materials and creating that audit trail that I was just describing in the previous slide. So specifically, this just covers the materials and the work in the daily reports that are going to be generated into the progress payments that are sent out to the Caltrans districts. So you want to make sure that you document the materials that are delivered to the job site in the daily report. You're going to create that weight ticket and document the activities. And again, it's in there in bold for you to make sure it's documented in the daily report. Because if it's not documented there, the auditors can't verify that it's been delivered to the site and being installed by the contractor or the contractor's team. Perhaps the contractor adjusts material. Probably, perhaps they didn't think, they need a full tonnage of asphalt concrete, so they might adjust it down or they might request a little bit more. So we want to make sure that those adjustments are noted in the daily reports and that it reflects what was actually installed and implemented onto the site. Lastly, you want to draft a Q sheet for each bid item in the engineer's estimate that was executed within the contract. And then you're going to aggregate the total Q sheets and submit a progress payment. Obviously, there's a lot more work and effort that goes into this, but this is just a high level reminder of how to create a sufficient audit trail. And that's all I had for documenting materials and creating that audit trail. So I'm going to turn things back over to Gramai. Gramai.
Thank you, Daniel. That was great. So this is some of the points we want to highlight for today for you to take away is as we go through the examples, complete daily reports are critical part of the construction contract administration. They are key. Missing or incomplete reports could result in claims, potential claims, and caution costs. Also, we recommend to use separate sample reports for inspectors and ARIs. Previously, we had one sample form for both inspectors and resident engineers. It was causing some confusion. Now we have included two samples. One is for inspectors, and then the other one is for the resident engineers' daily reports as Exhibit 16C1 and C2. So we want to encourage you to share this information with all inspectors and ARIs. And this concludes our presentation. So we can, I think we still have a few minutes to take a few questions.
Yes, let's go ahead and do that. I was checking to make sure my microphone mute was working, and it looks like it was successful. Do daily reports need to be done daily by the assistant resident engineer and resident engineer during project closeout and when the contractor isn't present on the site each day?
That's an excellent question. You know, so you will not, I will not be surprised if some inspectors, there's no report, if there's no work, but I encourage, if there's contractor is supposed to be working and they're not working, then I encourage an inspector to write a report saying no work today, the contractor did not show up, or whatever the reason may be, and have it in the file. That way, when we come back, review the project files, we know there was no work on that day, and it's not the agency's fault. So if there is any claims or any issues, safety issues in the job site during that day, then you have some information to come back and check that. So it's a good idea to document that in a daily report, but it could be blank, but just with some notes and date.
Thank you, Gramai. Could the good examples be provided after the session for utilization? And I believe that answer is yes. We will be distributing materials after the presentation.
Yes.
Yeah, within about a week, I believe Scott said he was going to have the presentation uploaded to the YouTube channel for Cal State Long Beach, the California LTAP Center. Next question, how late after construction is completed is post-construction review performed? If mid is performed, is post always needed?
That is a good question. So far, because of lack of resources, we haven't reviewed a project twice. But basically, mid-construction review is, as you know, is during the course of the project. There is still time for correction. If there's some, something has to be corrected or some adjustments has to be needed, then it is a good time to review during the mid-construction, because for the construction team, they still have time to make adjustments. The post-construction review, the project is completed already, but that review is important for lessons learned. And the local agency can apply those lessons onto another project, a future project, and they can train their staff accordingly based on the recommendations we provide. But to answer the question directly, I don't believe we have reviewed a project for mid and post, but some complex projects, big projects, we may have done multiple mid-construction and potentially, multiple mid-construction reviews, but perhaps not a post-construction review.
So this is a loaded question here. When will the Resident Engineers Academy happen next? Do we have anything immediately scheduled?
Maybe Daniel, I think you can answer that question better. I guess we still, Daniel's still working on the contract on that one, right?
Correct. So we're working with to get a contract executed. We've been working very diligently, and we're hoping it will be executed by April. And shortly thereafter, we can go ahead and schedule that first resident engineers academy. So thank you for passing that one back, Gurmai. What information is meant to be included in the project stamp on the RE daily report?
So the project stamp is basically, the project have EA number, federal ID number, and brief description. It may have a name. It could be, for example, X interchange widening. It could be the name of the project. You can have that. And then, yeah, those are the main information that you need to have in a project stamp.
Excellent. So this person's asking, do we have a sample of a good RE report? So we did. It will be included with the presentation and
Yes,
distributed out.
let me share a good RE report here, sample, very quick. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, we should have a sample on that one. Let me. Can you see it, Daniel?
I can.
Okay, so this is the sample resident engineers daily report. So yeah, thank you, the person who asked this question. So this resident engineer did a very good job here. You see, he has some very critical information here. For example, he mentioned here who was on site to perform some inspections. And then he said, please see their diaries for information on the contractor's activities. So for detailed information, he's referring back to the inspector's daily reports. And then there's some important conversations here. He mentioned it was noted that some areas of curb and gutter where type B driveway is to be installed had slopes greater than 5%. Apparently his contract has to be less than 5%. So he's making a note to the contractor. This will protect him, defend his position in case of a claim, or also it will help when he communicates with the contractor so he can address the situation the next day or, whenever available, applicable. So this is, we can share, this is a good example of a resident engineer's report. We can share it as part of the other information.
Excellent. Thank you. Is there a schedule for when the construction standard office hours are held?
Yes, so we have one schedule, the next one schedule is in the information in our website, by the way. That link, Sherry shared, it should be there. And then during the weekly daily email blast, you should get that information. Just to check, the next one is in March. Let me share it. Let me check here quick. My calendar.
Correct. March 18th,
March
9,
18th. Yes, yes,
9 to 10.
yes.
Yeah, another question we have here. You said make and model number is okay for daily inspection report of equipment, or do we have to use, CT item numbers for each piece of
Oh,
equipment?
make and model number and equipment number is good enough.
Perfect. Thank you. So this one had a question here. What is the Q sheet for verifying materials?
So the Q sheet or the quantity sheet is a documentation that every month, as we make payments to the contractor, the progress payment. So to make that payment, every item has to have its own Q sheet, by the way. We have seen agencies that, they have one Q sheet for several items. It's not easy to review or to double check or to come back and check if we have a claim. So we recommend one quantity sheet for every item every month. So for throughout the month, all that activity, for example, take roadway excavation happening throughout the month. So every day you have quantities for every day, and then you adding the total on that Q sheet. And so you have that Q sheet for every item. If you have, 10 items, 100 items on a project, then You'll compile that, and that's your progress payment for the month. So the Q sheet is needed for running your progress payments. Also, when auditors go, that's one of the things they check to make sure the payment has been made correctly.
Hey, winding down here, are there any LAPM requirements on the frequency of resident engineer daily reports?
No, right now, based on the LAPM, the daily reports for the inspector is daily. For the RE, could be daily and weekly. We leave that up to the discretion of the agency on the resident engineer's frequency, but it can be daily or weekly. For the inspector, I want to stress is daily for the inspector's report.
Excellent. So inspector daily, resident engineer, would you say as needed or
Daily or weekly as needed.
weekly as needed? Okay. Thank you. So will we get access to the daily report examples shown today? And that answer is yes. We will send out copies of the presentation along with the attached PDF files of the bad good examples. Those will be submitted out to all attendees. When are equipment costs in miscellaneous current and surcharge manual updated for Caltrans description of newer equipment in the field?
I think the equipment manual is updated every year. We can include that information also as part of the package. I have to double check.
Okay. So this is a really good question. So in the good report, of course, we want to reflect on the report that was really good. There was an interview with one of the contractor's employees. Is it typical for the inspector or resident engineer to interview the contractor employees?
Yes, it's required that we have to interview the contractor employees. The inspector has to interview the contractor's employees.
Okay. And I think this is the last question we have here, Gurmai. When would you like to see a log of truck driver hours? So the AB5 determines if truck drivers are employees or independent contractors. That's what that referenced. Okay, I understand it now. Our truck drivers are employees or independent contractors for the purpose of the labor code. Do we need to track the truck driver hours as well?
I think it depends. With Daniel would include this also in the package, so we can have a complete response to this one.
Okay. Does that involve, I forgot what we call it, like labor compliance, because that's I know it's a little bit outside of our office.
No, yes, we can double check, but if they are performing commercial user function or, for example, delivering asphalt, or if they are working within the job site. So I think this is a very good question. So I would like to have a detailed response so we can include that in the package. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a long question and we don't want to misinterpret it.
Okay. So we'll hold on to that one. And we'll try to respond out and by the email in a week if we can. So we'll endeavor to do that. There's a couple more here that got fired out here. What if the contractor's employees refuse to sign the employee interview or a subcontractor employee refused to sign the interview? Could it be just as simple as that we document on this? Just say, hey, employee
Yes.
refused to sign
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yes, that would be good enough.
Excellent. And last thing, may we get the YouTube link of this training? So yes, we'll send that out to the invitees here about a week or so afterwards. That's all we have, Gurmai.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you all. Yeah.
I just want to thank everybody here, especially our sponsors, the APWA of Sacramento, American Public Works Association of Sacramento, Caltrans Division Local Assistance, of course, our partners here, our DLA family, Cal State Long Beach, the California LTAP Center. So thank you everybody for attending.